Welcome to Archive, No Record. If you're ready to uncover the truth they tried to erase, subscribe and turn on the bell. Some files are never meant to be reopened. The spy who sold out to the Soviet Union for $4.6 million. February 21st, 1994. A cold morning in Arlington, Virginia. A 52-year-old man, dressed in a sharp suit, sits behind the wheel of his luxury Jaguar. He is preparing to head to work as he does every morning. But this morning is different. Dozens of FBI agents surround his car from every side. Their weapons are drawn. Orders are shouted loudly. The man is violently pulled from his car. Handcuffs bind his hands behind his back. He screams in confusion. What's happening? What is all this? But the FBI agents know exactly what they are doing. This man is no ordinary employee. He is Aldrich Ames, a 31-year veteran of the CIA. He is also the most dangerous spy in American history. Moments after his arrest, FBI agents stormed his luxury home, valued at $540,000. His wife, Rosario Ames, was also arrested. The charge? Conspiracy to commit espionage for the Soviet Union and Russia. The evidence discovered in his home was shocking. Classified documents, encrypted messages, instructions from Soviet intelligence. Everything confirmed that this man lived two contradictory lives. By day, a trusted American intelligence officer. By night, a double agent selling his country's most dangerous secrets. The price? $4,600,000, the largest amount the Soviet Union ever paid an American spy in history. But how did Aldrich Ames reach this point? How did an American intelligence officer turn into a traitor who sold his colleagues' lives for money? The story begins decades earlier. Aldrich Hazen Ames was born on May 26, 1941, in River Falls, Wisconsin. His father, Carlton Ames, was a CIA officer, which made the path easy for the son. From a young age, Aldrich dreamed of being like his father. In the summer of 1957, at just 16 years old, he began working as a document analyst at the CIA, classifying secret files during his summer break. This early start gave him a deep look into the world of intelligence, but it also planted a sense of superiority in him. He believed he was part of an elite, the cream of society, those who protect America from the shadows. However, life was not easy for Aldrich. In university, he was a mediocre student. He studied history at the University of Chicago, but dropped out due to low grades. He was more obsessed with theater than his studies. He worked as an assistant technical director in a Chicago theater, dreaming of a different life. But in February 1962, he returned to Washington and secured a full-time job at the CIA as a clerk. He worked as a low-level employee, typing documents and filing records, but he did not give up. He completed his studies at George Washington University, earning a bachelor's degree in history in 1967. During this period, there were signs of his troubled personality. He was arrested several times for driving under the influence. On one occasion, he stole a bicycle from a liquor store while intoxicated and was apprehended by police. But the CIA did not take these incidents seriously. His father was an officer in the agency, and that alone was enough to protect him. In 1967, Aldrich was accepted into the CIA's Operations Officer Training Program. This program prepared officers for field work, recruiting assets, and managing secret networks. Although his psychological test scores were low, he finished training with good evaluations. His first overseas assignment was in Ankara, Turkey, from 1969 to 1972. His mission was clear: recruit Soviet intelligence officers to work for America. He spoke Russian fluently and specialized in Soviet intelligence, but his performance was average. He did not excel at developing new assets. He was better at managing existing ones. After Turkey, he worked in New York from 1976 to 1981, where he managed two important Soviet assets. This was the peak of his career. He received excellent evaluations and was described as a superior officer. But after that, things began to deteriorate. In 1983, he was transferred to Mexico City. This is where the real trouble began. His performance declined significantly. He was late in submitting financial reports. He didn't spend enough time in the field, preferring to sit in the office. His evaluations became weak, yet his superiors still gave him passing grades. Why? Because that was the CIA culture. No one wanted to be responsible for destroying a colleague's career. In Mexico City, something else happened that changed his life. He met a Colombian woman named Maria del Rosario Casas. She worked at the Colombian embassy. An affair began between them, even though he was married. This relationship with a foreign national was a clear violation of CIA rules, but no action was taken. In 1983, he divorced his first wife, Nanette. The financial settlement was harsh. Nanette received most of his assets, leaving him with debts of about $12,000. He felt immense financial pressure. He wanted to marry Rosario, but he didn't own a house. He wanted to start a family, but his debts weighed him down. This financial pressure, combined with his feeling of being unappreciated at the CIA, led him to a decision that would change his life forever.
In April 1985, Aldrich Ames was working in the Soviet East European Division at CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia. His position was extremely sensitive, an officer in the counterintelligence department. He had full access to the names of every American asset inside the Soviet Union, the minute details of every operation, and the vulnerabilities of the American intelligence apparatus. That month, Aldrich decided to perform what he later called a scam on the KGB. He believed he would sell some minor information to the Soviets, get some money, and then disappear. But things did not go as planned. He went to the Soviet embassy in Washington. He introduced himself to KGB officers. He offered them a deal. He would give them the names of 3 double agents that the CIA had intentionally sent to the KGB as bait. In exchange, he asked for $50,000. This was the beginning. But the KGB saw something different. They saw a golden opportunity. They saw a high-ranking CIA officer with access to the deadliest secrets, ready to sell. They didn't just give him $50,000, they gave him the hope of a much larger fortune. A few weeks later, in the summer of 1985, Aldrich met with a Soviet diplomat several times in Washington. In these meetings, he passed on much more dangerous information. He gave them the names of more than 20 Soviet assets working for the CIA and FBI. He gave them details of technical operations targeting the Soviet Union. He gave them everything. The result? A catastrophe. The KGB moved with terrifying speed. Within months, all the agents Aldrich had exposed were arrested. There was no mercy. At least 10 of them were executed by firing squad. Others were sentenced to long years in the harsh Siberian labor camps. The entire American spy network inside the Soviet Union collapsed in an instant. The CIA lost almost all its active assets. Recruitment stopped completely. No one trusted working for America anymore. Who would want to become an agent if their fate was certain death? In December 1985, Aldrich met a KGB officer from Moscow in Bogota, Colombia. This meeting was to arrange a long-term relationship. He was provided with precise instructions on how to communicate in the future. In July 1986, he was transferred to Rome, Italy. Here, the meetings with the KGB continued. He met Soviet diplomats in Rome and sometimes officers who came specifically from Moscow. In Rome, his luxury lifestyle began to draw attention. He bought expensive furniture. He spent lavishly in restaurants and bars. His colleagues noticed his sudden wealth, but they did nothing. One described his spending as grossly excessive, but no official report was filed. Aldrich justified his wealth by claiming his Colombian wife's family was rich. Everyone believed him. Why? Because the CIA was an organization built on blind trust. No one wanted to accuse a colleague of treason without definitive proof. In December 1981, Aldrich and Rosario officially married and they had a son. They bought a luxury home in Arlington for $540,000. He bought a luxury Jaguar. He traveled to Switzerland several times to deposit cash in secret accounts. He carried bags full of dollars onto the plane without anyone suspecting him. He spent thousands of dollars on international phone calls. All of this while earning a modest government salary that did not exceed $60,000 a year. How did no one notice? The reason was simple. The CIA did not strictly monitor its officers' finances.
They trusted them, and this blind trust was their biggest mistake. During that period, the CIA began to sense that something was wrong. Assets were being killed at a terrifying rate. Operations were failing one after another. In October 1986, the CIA formed a small secret team to search for a potential mole within the agency. But this team was not effective. They were looking in the wrong direction. They thought the problem might be technical or that systems had been hacked. They never imagined that one of their senior officers could be the traitor. In 1986 and 1991, Aldrich underwent 2 polygraph tests. He passed both. How? Because he was calm, confident, and because the questions were not precise enough. Once again, he escaped suspicion. But by the early 90s, the picture began to clear. The CIA and FBI started working together to narrow the search. They knew there was a spy, but who was he? In May 1993, the FBI opened a full investigation into Aldrich Ames after a financial analysis revealed his unexplained wealth. They began intensive surveillance. They watched his house. They tapped his phone. They tracked him with a small plane while he drove his car. They searched his trash for evidence. In October 1993, FBI investigators saw Aldrich placing a chalk mark on a mailbox, confirming his intent to meet KGB officers in Bogota, Colombia. This was the decisive moment. Now they had tangible evidence. Now they could move.
In February 1994, Aldrich was preparing for an official trip to Moscow. The FBI knew that if he went, he might never return. He might seek political asylum in Russia. Therefore, they decided to expedite the arrest. On February 21st, President's Day holiday, the operation was executed. He was arrested outside his home as he prepared to go to work. His wife, Rosario, was arrested inside the house minutes later. The news broke the next day. A shockwave hit Washington and the world. How could a senior CIA officer be a Soviet spy for 9 years without being detected? Then CIA Director James Woolsey famously said, "They died because this sick, murderous traitor wanted a bigger house and a Jaguar." The scandal was massive. Congress demanded comprehensive investigations. Public trust in the CIA evaporated. The agency, once considered an invincible legend, was proven to have catastrophic flaws. On April 28, 1994, Aldrich Ames and his wife pleaded guilty in court. The deal was clear. He would cooperate with investigators and tell them everything in exchange for a reduced sentence for his wife. In an official statement before the judge, Aldrich admitted that he had provided the Soviets with the names of virtually all Soviet agents of the CIA and other American and foreign intelligence services known to me. He admitted to handing over a huge quantity of information on American foreign policy, defense, and intelligence. The sentence was harsh. Aldrich Ames was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. His wife, Rosario, was sentenced to 63 months in prison for tax evasion and conspiracy to commit espionage. As part of the deal, all his assets were seized. $547,000 were transferred to the Justice Department's Crime Victims Assistance Fund. After the sentencing, Aldrich sat with FBI and CIA investigators for long hours. He told them the details, how he sold the names, where he met KGB officers, how much money he received. But even after his confessions, questions remained. Some assets who were arrested in May 1985, before Aldrich handed over the major documents, how were they exposed? Was there another spy? This question still haunts intelligence experts today. Some analysts believe there is a fourth spy who was never caught, but no one knows for sure. The Aldrich Ames case was not just an intelligence scandal, it was a human tragedy. At least 10 people were executed because of his betrayal. Dozens more were imprisoned for years. Families were destroyed, dreams ended. The damage he inflicted on American national security was immense. It took the CIA many years to rebuild its spy network in Russia. The trust that was lost was never fully restored. But why did he do it? Why did Aldrich betray his country? The official answer, money. He wanted a better life, a bigger house, a luxury car. That's what the investigators said. But the truth goes deeper than that. In later interviews from prison, Aldrich revealed something else. He felt neglected. He believed the CIA did not value him properly. He saw less competent colleagues getting promotions and recognition. Frustration, wounded ego, the feeling of being unappreciated, all of this contributed to his decision. He wanted to be seen, to have his importance recognized. In his twisted view, selling to the Soviets was a way to prove his worth. He told himself, if the CIA doesn't value me, the KGB will. And indeed, they did. They paid him millions of dollars. They treated him as if he were one of their most important assets. Today, in 2025, Aldrich Ames is still in prison. He is 83 years old. He is incarcerated in a high-security federal prison in Pennsylvania. He will never get out. He will die behind bars. As for Rosario, she was released after serving her sentence in 1999 and was deported to Colombia. Their son grew up without a father. The damage caused by Aldrich Ames cannot be measured in numbers. At least 10 men lost their lives. Among them, General Dmitry Polyakov, who worked for the CIA for over 25 years and was executed in 1988. Valery Martinov, a KGB officer working for the FBI, executed in 1987. Sergei Matorin, a KGB officer, executed in 1987. Oleg Gordievsky, the famous double agent, narrowly escaped. He was smuggled out of the Soviet Union in a high-stakes British intelligence operation. These men were not just names in files. They were human beings with families, dreams, and lives. They were brave enough to risk their lives because they believed in something bigger than themselves. And they were betrayed by one man for a luxury house and a Jaguar. The Aldrich Ames case changed the CIA forever. After the scandal, security measures were tightened. Financial screening for officers became mandatory. Polygraph tests were improved. Specialized units were created to detect potential spies within the agency. But the biggest question remained unanswered. How could an intelligence organization, whose mission is to uncover secrets, fail to uncover a traitor in its ranks for 9 years? The answer lies in human nature. Trust, vanity, negligence, personal friendships, all of this caused people to ignore the clear signs. Ames was spending lavishly, but everyone chose to believe his wife's family was wealthy. He was late with reports, but his superiors gave him passing grades. He drank heavily and was arrested for public intoxication, but no serious action was taken. All these signs were there, but no one connected them. The story of Aldrich Ames is not just a story of betrayal. It is a story about greed, about vanity, and about how one person can destroy dozens of lives due to personal weakness. It is a story about how a powerful organization can fall into the trap of blind trust. It is also a story about the heavy price paid when trust is broken. In the world of intelligence, trust is everything. The asset trusts that the information they provide will remain secret. The agency trusts that its officers are loyal. When that trust is broken, the result is always tragic. Aldrich Ames broke that trust in the most horrific way possible. His name will remain in history not as a successful intelligence officer, but as one of the most dangerous traitors America has ever known. This is the story of the man who sold out to the Soviet Union for $4,600,000. The man who caused the execution of at least 10 people. The man who destroyed the entire American spy network in the Soviet Union. The man who proved that the greatest danger to any intelligence organization comes not from the outside, but from within, from the person who holds the keys and chooses to open the doors for the enemies. Today, in 2025, Aldrich Ames is nothing more than a number in a federal prison register. But the lives he extinguished, the operations he destroyed, and the trust he broke will remain part of history forever. A story that reminds us that betrayal is not just a legal crime, but a moral and human one, and that the price paid is not just years in prison, but innocent lives, shattered existences, and a history stained with shame.